along with his twin brother Hayden, was born 3 months early at weighing 1 pound, 8 ounces. As you can see in this picture, Elijah spent the first 4 months of his life in the neonatal intensive care unit, also known as the NICU. Fortunately, due to significant medical advances, we are able to increase the long-term survival of babies like Elijah who are born premature. The bad news is that in order to accomplish this goal, babies like Elijah must endure many medical procedures and surgeries. Some of the most common medical procedures that premature infants experience include things like heel pricks for routine blood monitoring, and these can happen multiple times a day. They endure intravenous line insertions and many surgeries as well, the most common one being a heart surgery to close vessels in the heart that haven't closed on their own in these preterm babies. Unfortunately, these medical procedures and surgeries are very painful. Research has shown that on average, babies in the NICU like Elijah experience 16 painful medical experiences each day. Elijah was no exception. In just the first 6 weeks of Elijah's life, he experienced 858 painful medical procedures and surgeries. Now, if Elijah had been born 30 years ago, he would have undergone all of those medical procedures and surgeries without any pain management or anesthesia whatsoever. That's right. As late as 1970 and 1980, it was widely believed that babies didn't feel pain, especially premature babies, and that it was too risky to use anesthetics with these vulnerable babies. Can you imagine? What they did instead, babies during surgery were given simple paralytics so that they wouldn't move during the surgery. They didn't receive anything for pain. Can you imagine what it would be like to undergo heart surgery without anesthesia? How could we ever have thought that this was acceptable for babies? Fortunately, today, pain management in the neonatal intensive care unit has improved dramatically. Babies have access to many different types of pain-relieving interventions, including effective drugs, as well as other strategies known to reduce pain. These can include things like sugar water, which given right before a procedure can reduce pain, as well as skin-to-skin contact with the mother, which we know makes pain better. So how did things change, and why? Well, it took the combined power of science and one brave mother to make a difference. In 1983, a scientist named Sunny Anand published a landmark paper in which he compared a group of babies who received proper pain management during their surgery to a group of babies who did not. And again, that was the standard at the time. And he showed that it was the babies that didn't receive proper pain management that actually experienced more complications and were more likely to die after their surgery than the babies who did receive pain management. Around the same time, a very brave mother named Jill Lawson went public with a high-profile story in the Washington Post about the inadequate pain care her premature son Jeffrey received during surgery. Surgery without anesthesia? There was a public outcry. Every mother knows that babies feel pain. How could this be happening? The practice soon became unacceptable. I'm a child psychologist and a pain scientist, and for 20 years I've been studying children's pain. While we've made major progress in some areas, there are still many, many ways we are failing children with pain. Take, for example, vaccinations. Even healthy children today will experience as many as 24 needles as a result of vaccinations, just routine vaccinations, by the age of 5. We know that there are many ways that research has shown is effective to reduce and improve vaccination pain. These kinds of things include a topical anesthetic cream that you can purchase at your local pharmacy over the counter and apply it to the arm just an hour before the procedure. Research has also shown that simple psychological strategies like distraction, so playing a game on your iPhone, or relaxation like taking a deep breath or blowing bubbles to get children to relax, that these things reduce pain. We also know a lot about what parents say and do and how that impacts children's pain. For example, when parents, as they often do, say reassuring things to children like, "Don't worry," or "It won't hurt," children see right through that, and our research has shown that actually makes it hurt more. No parent likes taking their children for needles. Unfortunately, fewer than 5% of children receive any kind of pain management intervention for vaccinations. This might not seem like a big deal. The needle is over pretty quick. But the reality is that for a huge number of these children, they go on to develop significant medical fears. And really, who in this room likes getting a needle? Nobody. So, why is this a concern? Why is it a problem? Well, again, these children develop significant needle phobias. And once children have these needle fears, it stands in the way of them going to the doctor and seeking proper medical care, not just today, but for the rest of their lives. As a psychologist, I've worked with hundreds of children and adults with these significant needle phobias. And almost every single one of these patients, I can identify one poorly managed, painful procedure in childhood that sort of was the source of all of their pain and distress. If only we did a better job at managing children's pain from needles by simply doing all the things that research has already shown us works to reduce pain, we could improve and reduce so much more suffering. As another example, take chronic pain. Chronic pain is not just an adult problem. 1 in 5 children experience headaches, stomach aches, or joint pain on a weekly basis or more. 1 in 20 children is very disabled by their pain, and the pain impacts their ability to attend school, to play with friends, and to get along with their families. We know that intensive team-based treatment helps children with chronic pain, with support being provided from medicine, nursing, psychology, and physiotherapy. But fewer than 3% of children with chronic pain will ever receive the pain care that they need. So why? Why don't children get the pain care that they deserve? Part of the problem is that there's a lot of wrong ideas about pain. People think that pain doesn't have long-term effects, but that isn't true. Research from both animal and human studies shows that pain does have long-term effects. Early, poorly managed, painful experiences early in childhood have been shown to change the nervous system and make people more likely to have pain later on. Baby boys who are circumcised without pain management show more pain at a later vaccination. The number of painful procedures in the neonatal intensive care unit has found to be related to changes in babies' brain's development. 2/3 of children with chronic pain will go on to become adults with chronic pain. So pain does have long-term effects. Another part of the problem is that we do a terrible job at educating health professionals about pain. Believe it or not, veterinarians receive more than 5 times the training about pain than doctors do. That's right, your dog could get better pain care than you or your child. It's not that health professionals aren't good people. They are. But they're busy people with different priorities. And sometimes pain just doesn't make it to the top of the priority list. It's not a problem with individual health professionals. It's a systems problem, and it's the way we think about pain that is the problem. Survey after survey shows that hospitalized patients rate high levels of satisfaction with their hospital stay, even when they've endured severe pain. Does this mean that we think it can't be any other way? In addition to being a child psychologist and pain scientist, I'm also a mother of 4 young children. And these are my kids. I'm going to tell you right now, they don't always look as peaceful as they do on this slide. All right. Over the last 8 years, my children have taken me to the front lines of pain management with their painful medical procedures, surgeries, and hospital stays. In fact, I met the baby, Elijah, that I introduced you to, and his family when we had a stay in the neonatal intensive care unit when I had twins who were born 6 weeks early. There have been times where even I, a pain management expert, and my husband, who happens to be an anesthesiologist, have had a hard time advocating for proper, evidence-based pain care for our children. So where does that leave the typical parent who assumes that everything possible is already being done to help their children with pain? It's time that we raise the bar. We can do better. We need to increase awareness about the problem of pain and empower patients to demand and expect proper pain care for themselves and for their children. A study asked parents, why aren't you using pain management strategies for vaccination? And the parents said, well, it's because my doctor didn't recommend it. When the doctors were asked, why aren't you using pain management with your patients for vaccinations? The doctors say, it's because the parents aren't asking for it. We have a problem here. It's time to start the discussion about pain. And it can begin as simple as saying, what are we going to do about my child's pain? This year, I decided I wanted to reach parents directly about pain. We created a fun 2-minute YouTube video titled, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. In the video, a cute 4-year-old girl tells parents what they should and shouldn't do to help children with the pain from needles like vaccinations. We had an incredible response from the video. Within 2 weeks of its release, we'd received over 26,000 views on YouTube. Parents wrote things on our Facebook page like, I took my children for our flu shots today, and it was amazing. We used the strategies from the video, and it made such a difference. Parents also shared with us some of the struggles that they had experienced with health professionals around pain. One parent said, well, I went to the pharmacy and I asked about that anesthetic cream, and they said it didn't work and they wouldn't sell it to me. Another parent said, what do we do as parents when medical professionals say it's not going to hurt and don't offer us or our children any real comfort? The reaction to the video by health professionals was very interesting. Many praised us for our efforts, but we also heard things like, "I don't want patients asking me about pain management. It takes too much time." Well, that's too bad. It's time we start thinking differently about children's pain. Today, we shudder to think that 30 years ago, it ever could have been acceptable for babies to undergo surgery without anesthesia. So looking back on today, 30 years from now, let's not have any more regrets about what we should have been doing differently for children with pain. At the beginning of my talk, I introduced you to Elijah. This is Elijah today on the left with his twin brother, Hayden. We all need to work together, parents, scientists, health professionals from all backgrounds, family and friends, to raise awareness about the problem of pain and improve the pain care that our children receive as babies and throughout their lives. It doesn't have to hurt. Thank you.